Have you ever wondered what happens in that final moment when everything fades to black? When your heart stops beating and the doctors declare you clinically dead? Is that truly the end? That piercing sound of a flatlined heart monitor, the very sound that medical professionals dread, might not be the final chapter of our story. Science tells us it should be. But what if I told you that thousands of people have experienced something extraordinary beyond that final heartbeat, something that challenges everything we think we know about death? And I'm not talking about vague spiritual experiences or religious visions. I'm talking about scientifically documented cases that have left even the most skeptical researchers questioning everything they thought they knew. What if death is just the beginning? For centuries, modern medicine has painted a clear picture. When the brain stops functioning, consciousness ends, period. It's simple biology. No oxygen to the brain means no thoughts, no awareness, no consciousness. Or does it? You see, there's a growing phenomenon that's leaving the scientific community utterly baffled. From the ancient pyramids of Egypt to today's most advanced hospitals, countless individuals have reported experiencing something remarkable at the moment of death. These aren't just stories from your everyday person. We're talking about testimonies, documented by renowned medical professionals, skeptical psychologists, and even hardened scientists who never believed in life after death until they witnessed it firsthand. What's even more intriguing is that these experiences aren't limited to any particular culture, religion, or time period. They've been reported across every continent, in every era of human history. Ancient Egyptian texts describe it. Medieval manuscripts mention it. Modern medical journals document it. But what exactly is it? Imagine this. It's 1978, Innsbruck, Austria. The atmosphere is electric as over 1,000 of the world's leading minds, doctors, psychologists, and religious scholars gather for what would become a landmark conference. Their mission? To answer humanity's most profound question: does our consciousness survive after our physical body dies? What they discovered would shake the foundations of modern science. These weren't just wild theories or religious beliefs. They were documented cases, medical observations, and scientific data that suggested something incredible. Some form of awareness continues after clinical death. The implications were staggering. If consciousness persists after death even for a few minutes, what does that tell us about the nature of human awareness? Could it be that our consciousness is not confined to our physical brain, that when the body dies, a part of us lives? Let me take you back to 1975 when Dr. Raymond Moody, yes, that's his real name, embarked on a journey that would change everything. His groundbreaking book, Life After Life, documented over 150 cases of near-death experiences. But here's the mind-blowing part. These modern accounts matched ancient descriptions found in texts like the Tibetan Book of the Dead. How is that even possible? These experiences shared uncanny similarities, a profound sense of peace and well-being, the sensation of floating outside one's physical body, moving through what appeared to be a tunnel, encountering an overwhelmingly brilliant light, and perhaps most remarkably, meeting deceased loved ones who seemed very much alive. But the scientific community needed more than just testimonies. They needed data, research, and verifiable evidence. Enter Dr. Elizabeth Kübler-Ross, a brilliant scientist from Chicago, who spent 8 painstaking years studying thousands of dying patients. What she discovered was extraordinary. Our human senses don't just switch off like a light bulb at death. They linger, they observe, they experience. Her research revealed something fascinating. The brain shows signs of increased activity in the moments following clinical death. But how is this possible? According to everything we know about biology, it shouldn't be, and yet the evidence was undeniable. And if that's not enough, consider the work of Dr. Carlos Osis in New York. Over a decade, he interviewed 800 patients who had brushed against death's door. The pattern he found was undeniable. Most described vivid emotional and visual experiences during their final moments. But here's where it gets really interesting. Many of these patients could accurately describe events that occurred while they were clinically dead, events they couldn't possibly have witnessed through normal means. Let me share a story that will send chills down your spine. At the 1978 conference, a prominent cardiac surgeon presented an extraordinary case that still baffles medical experts today. A 54-year-old patient was declared clinically dead during a routine operation. His heart had stopped beating for a full 7 minutes. Later, after being successfully resuscitated, he described something impossible, floating above his own body, watching in crystal clear detail as doctors frantically worked to save his life. "I felt lighter than air," he recalled, "completely free until they pulled me back. It felt like being squeezed through a tunnel of gravity back into my body." But here's the kicker. He could accurately describe conversations and procedures that occurred while he was clinically dead, including a specific mistake a nurse made that wasn't recorded in any medical records. When questioned, the nurse confirmed his account. How could he have known these details if his brain wasn't functioning? But here's an even more incredible case that defies all logical explanation. Picture this. A good Samaritan stops to help a stranded woman on a deserted road. Tragedy strikes when a speeding car hits him. As he lies there, technically unconscious, his awareness somehow expands beyond his broken body. He witnesses something crucial: a drunk bystander stealing the woman's purse. After regaining consciousness, his testimony leads police straight to the thief. But how? How could he have seen this while unconscious? Now I know what some of you are thinking. There must be a logical explanation. And yes, skeptics have their theories. They argue these experiences are nothing more than the brain's final performance, a magnificent hallucination caused by oxygen deprivation and carbon dioxide buildup. Those bright lights, those tunnels, those heartwarming reunions with departed loved ones, just the subconscious mind processing trauma, they say. Nothing more than cultural and religious beliefs manifesting during crisis. Dr. Susan Blackmore, a prominent skeptic, suggests these experiences are simply the result of our dying brain trying to make sense of an overwhelming situation. She points to the fact that similar experiences can be induced through extreme stress, meditation, or certain drugs, and yet, the evidence suggests otherwise. How do we explain the verified details patients report while unconscious? How do we account for the hundreds of cases where people described events they couldn't possibly have witnessed from their hospital bed? Think about it. How do we explain cases like the stolen purse incident? How do we account for the countless verified details that people couldn't possibly have known while unconscious? These aren't just simple stories. They're challenges to our entire understanding of consciousness. Recent studies using advanced brain imaging technology have revealed something fascinating. In the moments after death, certain parts of the brain actually show increased activity. But what does this mean? Are we witnessing the last gasps of a dying brain or something more profound? Consider these puzzling questions. Why do people from different cultures and backgrounds report such similar experiences? How can unconscious patients accurately describe events happening around them? Why do these experiences often lead to permanent positive life changes in survivors? Could our consciousness exist independently of our physical brain? What if, and I want you to really consider this, what if consciousness isn't just a product of our brain? What if it's more like a radio signal with our brain acting as the receiver rather than the source? What if death isn't the final curtain call but rather an intermission? And if consciousness does survive death, where does it go? Recent studies at major universities are starting to approach these questions with new tools and technologies. Using quantum sensors, researchers have detected previously unknown energy patterns in and around dying organisms. Could these patterns be related to consciousness? In 2023, a groundbreaking study at the University of Southampton completed the largest ever research project on near-death experiences, involving over 2,000 cardiac arrest survivors. The results? More questions than answers, but compelling evidence that consciousness might not be as simple as we once thought. The mystery of life after death continues to captivate us all. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, one thing is certain: these experiences force us to question everything we think we know about consciousness, death, and what lies beyond. As we stand at the frontier of new scientific discoveries, we might be closer than ever to understanding this eternal mystery. But until we do, each of us must grapple with these profound questions personally. So now I turn to you, my curious friends. What do you believe happens when we cross that final threshold? Is consciousness eternal, or is it all just one last magnificent show put on by our dying brain? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because this might be the greatest mystery humanity has ever faced. If you found this fascinating, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Next week, we'll explore the scientific evidence for precognitive dreams and how they might connect to the mystery of consciousness. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. And here's a question for you. Have you or someone you know ever had a near-death experience? Share your story in the comments below. Let's explore this mystery together.